starting tonight. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to, of course, the most entertaining, basically, the show of the night, I would say. I want to welcome everybody again to The Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. How is everybody doing tonight? I know that I am doing great. Everything's going good. We're chilling right now. We're vibing. We're vibing to some good music for a couple minutes. Just wanted to get some people in here a little bit more. But we got some stuff to talk about today. Of course, we got my Boston Celtics in the news rumor, trade rumor, whatever you want to call it. We have them in the market right now for some players. The question is, do you believe them? I don't. But it would be interesting to talk about. We can talk about how they're interested in players such as Vucevic and Jeremy Grant. I think Grant, I think he made a mistake going to Detroit. I understand his intent. But I think if he really wants to win, I think he should come to the Boston Celtics. It would actually add a little bit more dynamic to our team, adding another type of big. That way, Jason Tatum doesn't have to play the power forward position, but can play more of the small forward. I know it's positionless basketball, but at the end of the day, adding a little bit more height, a little bit more size, and a little bit more tenacity, another player that could get his own shot. Hey, I can't be mad at it. You got to deal with it. You got to say it is what it is at this point. But nevertheless, let's get right into the first story. And before we do, guys, please remember to hit that like button. Also remember to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. The more likes, the more subscribes we have, the more people are willing to watch the channel. So again, guys, please remember to hit those like and subscribe buttons. And away we go. All right, first order of business of the day. We, of course, have the official roster of the All-Star Game draft results. Let me go in order. Of course, it was Team LeBron versus Team KD. Of course, these two officially picked their team. We know that it went LeBron first because he did get the most All-Star votes. So let's look at what both Durant and LeBron did in their drafting situations here. Obviously, we got number one going with Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak, at number one. We got Kevin Durant going with Kyrie, LeBron going with Steph, Durant going with Embiid. We got LeBron going with Luka, KD with Kawhi. Then we got Jokic. We got Bradley Beal. We got Jason Tatum. I'm not sure what happened in that order, but I guess Durant got 3 picks in a row somehow. I have to look at it and make sure that that makes sense. So what happened here? So we got Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, James Harden. Obviously got his teammates. Team LeBron, of course, got Damian Lillard. Durant got Booker. LeBron got Simmons. I think that's kind of a waste of a pick. We got Durant with Zion, LeBron with Chris Paul, Zach LaVine to Durant, Jaylen Brown to LeBron, Julius Randle to Durant, LeBron with Paul George, Durant with Vucevic, LeBron with Domantas Sabonis, Team Durant with Donovan Mitchell, and of course, last but not least, as my friend Brad likes to call him, the French baguette, Bismack Biyombo. A little disrespectful, but might be true. But anyway, this is how the roster shakes up. Of course, we have the starters for Team LeBron. We have Curry, Doncic, Giannis, LeBron, and Jokic. For the bench, we have Lillard, Simmons, Chris Paul, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Sabonis, and Rudy Gobert. For Durant, we have Kyrie, Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid. And then we have Harden, Booker, LaVine, Donovan Mitchell, Zion Williamson, Julius Randle, and Nikola Vucevic. So, what do we make of these rosters and kind of what happened here with the Utah Jazz? We know that the Jazz have, at least I believe they have the number 1 record in the NBA as of right now. And unfortunately, those two players just got shafted. I think just because I think that there is a little bit of bias as it pertains to Utah Jazz. I think just the Jazz in general, I know that a lot of people kind of view them in a negative light, and rightfully so. There is some fans in that fan group that have done some pretty crappy things, but I don't think that we should be taking it out on Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. I do think that Donovan Mitchell is a really good player. Yes. Does he take a lot of shots? Yes. But I do think that he's a solid player, and I do love the way that Quinn Snyder has really done a good job for his team. We see that Donovan Mitchell has done a great job, but again, it is what it is at this point. Paul George taken, next to last after he promised so many "I'm back this season" type of situations. Again, Sabonis almost third to last. I think Sabonis should be a little bit higher. But again, when you have a team of so many excellent players, it's hard to be like, who should be first, who should be last, because look, man, there are some great players on this team. But the real question for me, and the real question I think everybody wants to know here on the charge today, is what team do I think is the best team here? If I had to look at which team I think could be the best, I honestly would have to say LeBron James's team. Now, again, this might be biased because I am a LeBron James fan. You could say that. But with the makeup of the team and the way that the All-Star game is played, look, three-pointers are kind of a... Three-pointers are not the shot that the NBA players want to take. They want to take the mid-range. They want to take the layups. They want to take contested shots because that when they're with their peers, when they're going against each other, they want to show that they are the best at what they do. And so, yeah, shooting a three-pointer might be cool and all, but they do a good job of, attacking the paint. Usually, alley-oops thrown to each other. And again, this game isn't to be taken serious. It's not like it was from my old heads out there. It's not like it was in the 70s or 80s or even 90s, right? This is more so a time to kind of show off and do some crazy things and basically play the same amount of defense that most of these NBA players play anyway, which is absolutely zero. But it is a fun thing to watch. But man, I think LeBron James's team is actually pretty good, and even his bench is solid. You have Nikola Jokic, again, a big that can do anything, able to shoot the three, able to pass, and able to, of course, attack the rim. LeBron James and Giannis kind of are able to do the same thing, except Giannis, not as a great shooter, but all those three forwards or centers or the backcourt guys are able to attack the rim without the use of a guard or a forward to kind of get them going. So that's something that you have to look out for with this team. And the bench as well. You have one of the clutchest players in Damian Lillard. You got, the athletic Draymond Green and Ben Simmons. You got Chris Paul. You got Jaylen Brown, my boy. Paul George, again, Pfizer P. Domantas Sabonis, one of the strongest big men in the league. Someone I think the Celtics should trade for, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. And then you got Rudy Gobert. Again, Rudy Gobert, solid defensive center. Obviously what he does for the team doesn't show up in the box scores or anything like that, but I think he is a pretty solid player, and I do think that he does get a little disrespected. But again, I think we live in a stat-oriented world. I think we look at the numbers and we say, hey, look at his numbers. Points, assists, rebounds, they're not that much. They're not impressive. But I think what he does defensively is pretty good, so I can't hate on him for that. When we go to Kyrie Irving's team, or I should say a.k.a. Durant's team, it's impressive. But again, you have so many ISO ball players that I don't feel like the movement of the basketball, especially for an all-star game, the ball movement does not look good whatsoever. I think this movement looks a little choppy, looks a little slow. It doesn't really look to me like it should be a team that could do much when it comes to anything in the front court or anything like that. I think it's going to be one of those situations, again, where you're looking at it, and I think there's too many ISO players, not only on the starting lineup, but also on the bench as well. And that's going to lead to a lot of situations that you're going to see, and people are going to be like, well, why should I have him on my team? And again, it's going to be one of those things that we're going to look at it and be like, well, why should I even, have worried that this guy should be on my team? And again, we'll see what happens, but at the end of the day, I'm not impressed by what the team looks like right now. I think that it is kind of average in my opinion at best, but we'll see what happens. I think I said it's not necessarily the worst team. It's not necessarily the best team. It's just a lot of ISO guys, and I know that ISO ball in today's NBA is not the move at this point. The more of the moves and more of what's going on in the NBA is, of course, what is going on with what the Utah Jazz, or sorry, not with the Utah Jazz, excuse me, but what more so LeBron James's type of style team is playing, right? You have a lot of ball movement in terms of Curry and Doncic and Giannis. Excuse me as I kind of mute. Let's see here, a lot of people trying to get at me, so let's see here. Let's see here. Let me make sure that we are good. Let me go to the page. Just want to make sure that we're live on all the other platforms, because I forgot to I forgot to kind of make it live on the other one. So that's why the numbers have been a little low for me. So now I figured it out. It takes a minute. But again, guys, this teams and all these players, again, great athletes. Obviously Trae Young would love to be in this conversation. And I think it just kind of shows you that there is a club a Bruin, and I think that's why the players do not like Trae Young and they do not want him to be part of that club, just because of the way that he plays, the style that he does. But again, guys, this is like a short story. Obviously, we look at this and, this is something that the fans have been asking for, a change to the All-Star lineup, a change to the All-Star game, because it's been a little bit boring, to be frankly honest. There's some moments where I'm like, yes, this is what we need. This is what it's going for. And then there's other times where it's just like, what's going on? Like, why are we not having some great competition anymore? And I just think that by adding a dynamic of an LA Fitness style pickup, I mean, they already play Final Four, or sorry, not Final Four. They already play 24-hour fitness type pickup style anyway. Why not add a little bit more competition? Why not make it a little bit more all-star pickup basketball-esque, where you're able to draft your team? And, maybe something about the last guys, maybe they have to prove stuff. And so we'll see what happens as it pertains to the bottom guys, of course, going from Sabonis all the way to Rudy Gobert. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you guys make of the All-Star team? Do you guys agree? Do you disagree? What do you guys make of this All-Star team and the draft results in this chat? Let me know in the comment sections and just conversating with yourselves down below. And again, we're going to segue now to the other topic of the day. And before we do, please remember again to hit that like button. Also, remember to hit that subscribe button. If you're new to the channel, the more likes, the more subscribe, the more that people are willing to watch the channel and give us more views and content. And that's what we are all about here on The Charge, making that NBA content, giving some good stuff. And again, guys, the more likes, the more subscribe, the more people will watch the channel. But let's move on to our next story of the day. Now, we know that the Boston Celtics, apparently, which is a shocker to me, the Celtic market, and basically in the market for more players. We know that there is a lot of players that are going to be coming on the market. A lot of people are going to be picking up some of these, kind of buyout options, low buyout options, looking at other type of things to acquire players. Vucevic being one of them, we talked about a little bit earlier, and also Jeremy Grant is also on the list as well. And we all know that the Celtics have basically had cold feet for probably the last, what seems like 5-7 years right now. The way that we drafted Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, perfect picks, and then we just didn't do anything with the rest of the picks to really get us going, to really get this team in the situation that we need to be in terms of going for an NBA championship. And of course, we got a couple wins. We actually won today against the Toronto Raptors, and we're starting to climb back up, and we're actually starting to get back into playoff basketball mode because Kemba Walker is finally healthy. I feel like, I do believe the stories and the reports that Kemba Walker was injured, but do I believe that he's good enough to win us a championship? No. Frankly, as much as I would love to kind of be biased and say, yes, he will be able to, look at the numbers, look at what he's doing, but I have to be a realist. I have to be someone that not only looks at the numbers, but looks at the style of play, looks at the way the defenses are going. And, Kemba Walker is probably one of the biggest liabilities on defense, probably since Trae Young and Steph Curry. And that's no fault of his own. Obviously, a 6'1" guard, or 6-foot guard even, is going to be out-muscled and out-hustled by a 6'7", especially on a switch or whatever type of offense they run. They're going to get that mismatch that they want, get him in the low post, and then boom, throw it in there, get easy buckets, and, of course, create this whole situation where they collapse in, kick out, three, the basics, the simple stuff. Obviously, you can get the more details about the offenses and that they run, but that's not what we're here to do on this channel, as much as I need to do that myself just for coaching purposes. But going into the Celtics and what they need, obviously a big man is especially, I think, the biggest need for us right now. Someone that is able to control the paint, someone that is able to master and be able to score and get their own shots without the need of Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kemba Walker. Now, when it comes to Vucevic, of course, this was the first report that we read. The Boston Celtics and the Charlotte Hornets are reportedly among teams interested in Vucevic's services. The Magic are not expected to trade him unless they are wowed by an offer. And I think if I'm the Magic, I'm looking at some point guard positions, maybe get Scary Terry or whatever it is, because I think the Charlotte Hornets are very point guard or very guard logged. And I think they need to start making some room for positions. I mean, when we look at the situation at hand, when we look at what is going on, of course, we could look at, the whole Let me make sure nothing's going on there. But, we can look at the whole situation with it and just be like, yes, this is exactly what we need at the moment. We need to get those players. But, you look at the situation at hand as it pertains to Vucevic, as it pertains to all these for the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets, is that, we don't know what Vucevic's intent is. Does he want to stay in Orlando? He's been there for a while now. As an aging center, kind of, I don't remember how old Vucevic is. Let me see how old Vucevic is. I believe Vucevic is 30 years old. I mean, he's at that age, that prime age where it's like, 2 more years or maybe even 1 more year, and the numbers will probably start to decline. This is probably at the point where I think the Orlando Magic have to decide whether or not they want to keep him in their plans. The Magic are not getting any younger. They have some really good players. You got Terrence Ross, who's helping you out right now with the absence of Cole Anthony. There's a lot of things that you have to look at, but if we look at his numbers just from a couple days ago, 29 points, 34 points, and right now, if I'm not mistaken, if we look at the NBA standings, the Magic, I believe, are basically last. So it's like, why at this point would the Orlando Magic want to keep him? Like, for a guy that's going to be aging, I understand he's only played for the Orlando Magic his whole career, but at some point you just got to let him go. And I think the same thing when we talk about Jeremiah Grant as well, when we go to the Pistons talk. But I think the Magic have to start making moves. Obviously, they're not wholly out of it. They're only 3 games behind number 10. And the number 10 seed is probably where you want to be. And again, the Pacers are also in that similar situation. So I think that's a perfect opportunity to talk about Domantas Sabonis again. As you know, I am a big and huge proponent of actually acquiring Domantas Sabonis for the Boston Celtics, because I think it would actually do a great job for us to have him on our roster. But nevertheless, as it pertains to what we're seeing here, I just think that they need to decide whether or not they want to keep Vucevic or not. I think that they should look to trade him. The Hornets right now are in 7th. They're looking to kind of keep and maintain that. They want to get that playoff push just like the Miami Heat did just last year. And what's even crazier to me, is that we have the New York Knicks at 5. I mean, I know we haven't talked about them. I know my boy Pete, wherever you are, hopefully you're watching, Pete, but I know that you're a big Knicks fan, man, and I know that the Knicks right now are kind of doing a thing right now, but the question for me is going to be, what's going to be the situation with the Heat, man? Are they going to actually acquire? Are they actually going to, the Knicks, are they actually going to make a move? Are they actually going to be in the playoffs? That's going to be the biggest question mark for me as it pertains to that team. I would love to see the Knicks kind of make it, but at the same time, you know how it is. We'll see what happens in this aspect. But let me just double check something here really quick as we kind of get going. As we kind of proceed to give you what you need once again, let's look at the situation at hand as it pertains to not only the Orlando Magic, but also looking at another situation. Again, the Charlotte Hornets are in a contention. The Celtics are in contention. But I think I'd be in favor of this trade a little bit more as I keep thinking about it. I know Vucevic was one of my guys that I wanted, but I just think that we're at the point now that we just have to, if Daniel Theis is the person that they like, let's at least get another kind of guard that can also, handle the rock, but also score as well. And that's, of course, Jeremiah Grant. We know that he just signed a recent new deal of about 3 years, $60 million with the Detroit Pistons. And I think that by getting that trade exception, and of course, with the $28.5 million trade exception, by, putting it around Jeremiah Grant, maybe trading a pick away or two, I think I would get Jeremiah Grant. I mean, I believe Jeremiah Grant, averaging about 23, 5, and 2, almost 3 assists a game. I think that this is a guy that we need on our team. I mean, Jeremiah Grant looks to me like he could be a great Celtics player. I understand the reason why he wanted to play for Dwayne Casey and play for the Detroit Pistons, especially for the fact that Dwayne Casey is a minority coach. And I think that was one of Jeremiah Grant's biggest factors as to why he did sign to the Detroit Pistons. And if he wants to stay there, man, all power to him. I would love for him to kind of, fulfill his dreams and whatever he wants to accomplish. Hey, man, do you. I'm not going to get in the way of that. But I think you have a chance to play with some talented players, 2 All-Stars, that is, and kind of revive. I wouldn't say revive your career more so, but put you back on the map because a lot of people recognized you and were familiar with you in with the Denver Nuggets when you guys upsetted the LA Clippers, but I would love to see Jeremiah Grant on the Boston Celtics. I think his style, his tenacity. I mean, if we look at Jeremiah Grant really quick, and look at kind of what he's been doing. I know that the Celtics are very interested in him. I believe he's what 6'9", if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. I believe he's 6'9", but I could be wrong on that. 6'8", almost 6'8", 6'9". But having probably one of the best careers. I mean, we look at the jump from where he was in 2014, 2015 at 6.3 to where he's at right now, where he is basically at a 23.4, even, basically, doubling or tripling his amount of points per game. And I know that Detroit obviously is going to get more shots. We look at how many shot attempts just from 3-point that he gets, and even just field goals per se. He gets about 8 shots a game. He gets about, 6 shots for 3-point shots. I mean, he is absolutely killing it. And I think that he would do a really good job. I think he would actually be a really good player, in my opinion, seeing him in, I believe, in a situation where I think he would do a much better job for the Boston Celtics than I think he would for the Detroit Pistons. But again, it's up to him as to what his role wants to be. Like, again, I don't want to get in front of his way if that's, I know that the minority coaching was something that he was really a big proponent of. I know that that's something that he was, that's the reason why he went to Detroit. And I don't blame him for that. Obviously Detroit is not the best team in the world. But I think that he could do a much better job at being the kind of third option on a team or even second option. If we kind of, I don't think he can be a second option. I think he has to be a third option for the Boston Celtics with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And I think that, again, you could have a lineup where, maybe you put Tristan Thompson or you start Tristan Thompson and have Daniel Theis come off the bench. And you have a lineup of Kemba, Brown, Tatum, Grant, and then you have not Daniel Theis, but Tristan Thompson. And then when Marcus Smart gets healthy, he might be a great off the bench guard. And I think that might be the way that the Celtics go if they decide to get Jeremiah Grant. I think he would be a good pickup. I think that his numbers have definitely improved with, obviously being the man or being the number one option. You are looked at a lot differently. Teams are going to absolutely, kind of go at you and make sure that you're not getting your numbers. But you see here that, the numbers look pretty good to me. 36% from 3-point land. I mean, only a couple percentages off. I mean, if he takes a little bit less and, I think he can make a lot more. I think there's great opportunity for the Boston Celtics to get a Jeremiah Grant. And again, that's one of who the Celtics are targeting. There's obviously so many players that the Celtics are kind of looking at, and we can kind of look at this CBS report as to what the Boston Celtics are trying to do as it pertains to the moves that they're trying to make. We'll see what they think about Kemba Walker. Again, this might be a situation as well where they decide that we need to look at Kemba Walker, we need to trade him. But I just think that right now the Celtics are in a position where I believe we need to start looking at, we're at the 4th seed. I think we need to start building on that and trying to contend with teams like the 76ers and even the Brooklyn Nets. Like, I know defensively we can be good against the Brooklyn Nets. We can be good against the 76ers, but I think offensively is where we're going to struggle, especially as it pertains to if Jason Tatum isn't going, if Jaylen Brown isn't going. Basically, our offense is stagnant, and guys like Robert Williams and Grant Williams and Jeff Green, Peyton Pritchard, those guys aren't going to get their shots if those two guys aren't hitting, and that's not the situation I want to be in. I want to be in a very calm, clear, and precise situation where we don't have to deal with that. We can just kind of do something where we get the Boston Celtics right back into prominence and right back into getting an NBA championship, getting banner number 18, and hopefully maintaining the lead against the Lakers. But, that's going to be a big if, because I know that the Lakers are just too good right now, even with AD out. I think Dennis Schroeder was kind of the bigger reason as to why they weren't doing so well. I know AD is a great all-star player. He's a great talented player, but I think that he does such a better job when he's out on the court. And again, we're kind of looking at other teams, other players. I mean, we'll talk about PJ Tucker, but I think another big story as well is the Blake Griffin situation. If everybody doesn't know, Blake Griffin was once probably the hottest player in the NBA in terms of popularity, in terms of what the league really wanted. I mean, maybe not what the league, but what a lot of the kids back in my high school days, and just who people were really interested in. They were really interested and really connecting with Blake Griffin, the way that he was able to dunk. It was basically trampoline-esque, the way that he was just slamming it down, getting dunks. And I believe he still does not have a dunk to this day. Since the start of the season, he hasn't yet to have a dunk. And so we'll see what happens there. But it looks like the Pistons and Blake Griffin have eventually agreed to part ways on a contract buyout. And the question for me is, who is going to pick up Blake Griffin? I mean, if the Lakers have some cap room, man, I even think if the Celtics should, especially since they bought him out, he signed a $173 million deal. Look, I'm not the biggest Blake Griffin fan, but he's a guy that can get his own shot, that can score. The question for me is he able to be mobile enough? Like I want to really look at some, and I know I have this chill vibe, but let's look at Blake Griffin. Kind of, what is this, 2021 season? And just kind of look at his highlights so far of the NBA season. And shout out to Beards TV. Has about 2.35 subscribers. Thank you again for the video. We'll start it once this ad is out of here. And we'll kind of look at his stats again. All right, good. It's muted because this music is probably going to get copyright. Again, Blake Griffin, not the most athletic anymore. I mean, you kind of see here that his game of a kind of finisher around the rim isn't going to dunk, but is definitely going to create plays. And I think, again, kind of a Ben Simmons mold type of player without the Ben Simmons handle or dribble. I still think that he can provide some service. Now, as someone that is a proponent of not liking Blake Griffin as much, I mean, I understand that I'm not the biggest Blake Griffin fan, but I still realize and kind of admire his ability to be a serviceable player. I mean, shooting threes, obviously, in Detroit, he's not going to be, the number one option. He's not going to be doing any of this stuff. But I do think when I look at the stats, when I look at the highlights, when I look at everything, just want to make sure my stream didn't freeze. Just want to make sure that we're good. Hang on 1 second, everybody. All right, good. We have good connection. I just want to make sure we have good connection. And really, when I look at a guy like Blake Griffin, when I look at kind of the situation at hand as it pertains to a Blake Griffin, the number one thing that kind of frustrates me, or not frustrates me, but more so what I want to see from Blake Griffin is more so a situation where he is, playing at an all-star and an elite level. I just think that, I think he's only, 31 years old? I mean, let me look at how old Blake Griffin is. I believe Blake Griffin is only 31 years, even that old right now. Like he's a young player. I just want to, it's just one of those things where, you look at it and you just want to see a situation. Hang on 1 second, everybody. Alrighty, everyone. Apologize for that. I just want to make sure that the stream is good. Um, just had a little bit of technical difficulties, it looks like, but I believe that we are all set. Yep, we're all set. We're all good. The stream is healthy now. Took a little bit, but we finally got it down. And again, when it comes, like I said, to the when it comes to a guy like Blake Griffin, I think he could be a great contribution to our team. The question is, what does he want right now in terms of as an NBA player? Does he want to be the guy? Does he want to have his own team? He kind of did that in LA. Do I see him going to the Lakers? That might be an interesting scenario. The Lakers kind of adding a Blake Griffin type of talent. Maybe even I don't think he would go to Brooklyn because I think it would be just more. I don't think he would add anything defensively, and I just don't think that he would get the touches offensively that he would like. I think in LA he would get like the touches that he would want. LeBron when he's off the floor, Blake Griffin will be able to take over in terms of getting alley-oop dunks or maybe not even alley-oop dunks because right now he's not as athletic as he once was. But I could see something like that for a guy like Blake Griffin. Again, looking at the situation at hand, Blake Griffin looking for a buyout. Let's see what the comment section has to say. We have a lot of people saying this makes no sense from a Detroit Pistons standpoint. Obviously, a lot of people are like, especially Pistons fans, are upset because he had 1 year left on his deal, which would allow him to basically give them like a 34 million or how much money he was going to make, and just basically create that cap room for them. But that obviously is not going to work out, and the Athletic has pointed out that they're probably not. They're going to just kind of go with it. They're keeping out of the lineup or looking for a trade, but now it's just going to a buyout. And again, I do think that Blake Griffin can add some value to a team. But the problem and the situation that I see with him more so is does he to anybody, does he provide value to the team? Like, does he provide value to any team that's looking to get him? I mean, again, he's not as athletic as he once was. I think defensively, he's moved like a turntable. You saw what Jason Tatum did to him. It just kind of creates this whole situation, this whole narrative, and this whole vibe of Blake Griffin as to, is he going to be the guy that everyone thought he was going to be? Is he going to be someone that teams are going to be clamoring for? Is he going to be someone that teams are going to actually want to go and get? That to me is going to be the biggest question mark in my opinion as we look to see what is going on with that. But again, guys, let me know in the comment section down below. For the Boston Celtics, do you guys think that this would be a great idea for Boston to trade for a guy like Vucevic, trade for maybe Jeremiah Grant, try and get Blake Griffin? Like, what do you guys think is the move for Blake Griffin? What do you think is the move for Jeremiah Grant and Vucevic? Is it to stay where they're at, or is to actually get them to kind of have this in terms of what they could do? We'll see what happens. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys make of Blake Griffin. And let's see this next story that we have for you today. And we have to look at, of course, Donovan Mitchell saying that the refs are getting out of hand against the Jazz. And of course, this is, of course, coming from the Utah Jazz, and maybe the reason why a lot of people are not really big fans of the Jazz. But this is what Donovan Mitchell had to say about the overtime loss that they lost 131-123. Donovan Mitchell said that the Jazz are getting screwed by the refs following their loss against the 76ers. Now, I'm never one to blame the ref, to blame an official. I can say I could have done more, but this is getting out of hand. There's been games like that we've won. There's been games like this where we've lost, but this is the whole refereeing stuff. We're nice. We don't complain. Like, we don't get frustrated. We fight through things, and the fact that we continually get screwed in a way by this, we won this game, in my personal opinion, but like I said, I'm going to give them credit. They won, whatever, cool, but it's been a consistent thing, and the question is, can we do it? Can we sustain it? Are we for real? Number one, and yeah, hell, we are. And it's getting blanking ridiculous that this is what's happening. Mitchell received his first technical, and then received a second one, obviously with 30 seconds left. And basically the 76ers shot 35 free throws in the game while the Jazz were shooting 19. And I think this kind of, and I will say that this does stem a little bit to what a lot of NBA fans and what a lot of NBA players in general don't like about Trae Young. And it's kind of the same thing with Joel Embiid. It's the same thing with James Harden. It's the flopping. It's the getting the calls that they need. And again, I understand that Joel Embiid, and in terms of And I can attest to it. I do it sometimes too at LA Fitness. I can't deny it. I think everybody does at some point try and draw the foul, but I think it gets to a point where I think Donovan Mitchell and a lot of these NBA players are really frustrated with the way that players are flopping at an alarming rate. Like, it was cool when it was just Manu Ginobili because it was just him. It was cool when it was just Dwayne Wade doing his up fake and then going into the defender and then shooting it. Like, all of that was cool and all. But now we're seeing a sort of situation and a thing where I think a lot of fans and a lot of players are getting frustrated by the way that the league is being officiated right now. It seems to me that they really love to kind of let the fouls, especially when it comes to, creating your own fouls and stuff like that. We understand the gift of drawing a foul. Like, we see that James Harden and Trae Young have manipulated, and even Joel Embiid to an extent. Again, the 76ers won. I'm not going to go on this Donovan Mitchell like, oh, we got screwed. I mean, I do think that they won the game, but I think what we can do, and I think Mitchell was trying to more so get at, is that we need to start criticizing and be critical with the referees when it comes to this flopping stuff, because I do think that at times it does get out of hand. The one thing to me, and kind of this, and let me look this up. Kind of the shot. And it's just kind of like, Trae Young drawing a foul. And it's kind of a situation here where we look at it, and this is kind of what Dwayne Wade does. And, this is a video of, I have no idea whose video this is. Shout out to Serena and Bolt24. I would, if you want to sponsor me, I'm all here. I'm all ears for it. So I wouldn't mind a Bolt24. I've never actually had some. Anybody in the comment section or anybody in the live chat, if you ever had Bolt, let me know what you guys think of Bolt. And you kind of see here, Dwayne Wade, I felt like kind of did this himself. Like, we look at here, Dwayne Wade. If you want to look at who was the originator of the shot fake, get into the man and then shoot it, Dwayne Wade is the godfather of that move. Dwayne Wade is the originator of the shot fake, go into him and draw the foul. Like, maybe it was done in the 80s and 90s that I don't know about, but in terms of, from my basketball knowledge, from my basketball experience, the one person that I can attest this, and I love Dwayne Wade. I could say that I'm a huge Dwayne Wade fan. I was probably one of his biggest fans growing up. It sucked that he lost the MVP race to LeBron, but obviously for obvious reasons, he probably should have, even though I thought Dwayne Wade played excellent that year. I believe it might've been the 2009 season, maybe the 2006 season, but I think 2009. And Donovan Mitchell kind of gives me that Dwayne Wade vibe in terms of like a more cool, calm and collected type of guy. Doesn't really show that much emotion, but is able to attack the rim, able to do a lot of things. And again, I do think that when it comes to Mitchell complaining about these calls, complaining about what's going on in the NBA, I think a lot of fans can get behind that, because I think a lot of fans are starting to get frustrated with the way that the game is being officiated, with the way that the game is being handled. Because like I said, no one wants to be in a scenario or situation where basically you get to pump fake, and then as soon as the defender jumps up and basically to the side, you're going into the defender space and then trying to draw the foul. And I think Trae Young has evolved that to now where you come off the screen, you get the guy on your back, you kind of do a little bit of a booty bump, I like to call it. You booty bump him, and then you kind of draw the foul because you're acting like you just got hit from behind, like you're in a car crash and basically the car hit your bumper and then you just kind of flinch forward, right? That's kind of what I've been noticing with Trae Young. And again, this type of fouling, this type of scenario is not something that I like. I do think that there is something that we need to start doing for the defenders. Again, I love the way basketball is played right now. I love the way that the movement goes. I love the offensive flow of getting it to a two-man side on a pick and roll and basically having a three-man action do something on the other side, because that allows a lot more confusion on the defense to be like, well, my guy just cut down there, so I'm going to go down there. And the miscommunication on defense allows open shots for NBA, and especially for NBA players, because we know that NBA players do not play defense. Like, I will be brutally honest with you. Defensively, the NBA is one of the worst leagues in the world in terms of defense. Like, there are some great defensive plays, there are some great defensive players, but in terms of a whole, as a defense as a whole, I think it's one of the worst. I mean, There may be an even worser defensive league, maybe the ones that just cherry pick all the time, maybe a men's league somewhere out there. But in terms of professional basketball, I do think defensively the NBA is one of the worst. Um, and I do think that Mitchell is upset in a way because we see that Joel Embiid does kind of do the same sort of scenarios where he flops, he gets into Gobert, and we kind of see him do kind of like these head fakes where he like acts like he got hit or acts like something happened to him when obviously something didn't. And I'm not saying that Joel Embiid doesn't do it. And again, you kind of see here that we kind of look at here Joel Embiid getting posted at this point. Just kind of looking at the highlights down here. We'll mute this really quick. I think only I can hear it. I mean, again, we look at Joel Embiid. I mean, let me get him in more of a scenario where he's actually getting fouled or something's happening to him. Kind of you see there that Joel Embiid, I know that he's not really trying to draw the foul there, but you could see that he's trying to like act as if he did get hit in the face. And again, there's nothing wrong with it. You do what you do to get your foul calls. But what I think is frustrating to me and what I think Mitchell's getting at, and I do agree with it, I think the refereeing is getting out of hand because like I showed everybody yesterday, and if you haven't checked out that video yesterday, what are you doing? Go and check that video out. But like I showed yesterday, literally LeBron James against the Utah Jazz basically held the ball, like, let me get to the camera, basically held the ball like this, took like 2 or 3 steps, and then put it back down. Like, that to me is what you look at in the situation at hand as to like, what are the refs looking at? I would love to know like what the criteria is for these refs in terms of, okay, I'm looking at sort of contact here, contact there. I do believe that there is times where the refs are basically just watching the game and not actually taking care of or looking at the action that's going on. Because look, I mean, when you're on a floor with so many amazing superstars, so many amazing players, so many amazing plays, yeah, I could be lost in awe too. But I think the refereeing is starting to become a problem when it comes to the little things, right? Obviously the zero step or the gather has been like the biggest debate since Lord knows what. I mean, I can't even think of something that's been more debated than the gather step or the zero step, as some people like to call it. Like, there's so many like discussions and situations where you look at it, and again, I don't want to discredit the 76ers because they obviously are playing playing the best basketball right now, I believe, in the East, besides maybe the Brooklyn Nets. They're finally starting to pick it back up. But I do believe that the 76ers are on a roll. Doc Rivers has them going. But at the same time, what I do find frustrating is the fact that, we're giving advantages to sort of situations and the players that, aren't really playing basketball. And I do agree with what Steve Nash said. Steve Nash doesn't like the way Trae Young plays. And I think it's the reason why a lot of NBA players are not a big fan of him either. I do like Trae Young. I think he is a great player. When he's not doing the drawing the foul stuff, I think he's an amazing player. But when he's doing that stuff, it gets nauseating. It gets annoying. And again, I know that my friend Josh will disagree with me on that because I know that, everybody does it, but at the same time, doesn't make it right. I mean, obviously it does, if the refs are going to call it, hey, more power to Trae Young for finding a way to finesse the system. I mean, I think every player is starting to do that now. I mean, Curry is starting to do it now too, and I think Curry kind of mastered this as well, as kind of the shot fake, get into the person's space and then give off with it. I think it's starting to infiltrate all games and, infiltrate all players. And I don't think that's what we need right now. And again, we'll see what happens with the NBA in terms of what the refs are going to do. But I do think that the refs need to, and I think Lloyd Pierce, before he got fired, mentioned it. And, again, I could be an old head for saying that. But I don't think that that's basketball. Trying to draw fouls isn't the way. Like, obviously, it'll get you the stats, right? It'll get you to the foul line without taking, a percentage off your field goals. And basically, you're making your free throws, and that brings your points up. And, of course, your free throw percentage up, meaning that you're a more reliable player. But at the end of the day, I don't think that that's really basketball. And I know that people are going to be upset with me with that. I know the new school guys are going to be upset with me with that because, today's NBA is find a way to draw fouls. I mean, I think it's a little bit of the game. Obviously, it's still, 3-pointers, finding your open guy, taking your eye off the dribble. But I think drawing fouls is starting to become the next art in the NBA that I don't think that a lot of people are really talking about. Yes, they complain about the flopping. Yes, they complain about, you know, what Steph Curry does or what Joel Embiid does. But really, we need to start looking at the refs and figuring out what they can do in order to make sure that that stuff doesn't happen. Because again, I think that as any rational NBA fan, we don't want to see that stuff. I mean, I know that there may be some people that are a fan of that action, but again, I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not a huge fan of the way that the NBA is being played right now in terms of, with all this foul drawing, with all this sort of scenarios that are going on with the NBA. Because again, I think that the NBA is so much more than just trying to draw fouls or trying to do these things. I think it is more of trying to find a way to balance out everything, because again, we don't want to be in a scenario or a situation where basically you have a situation where you're dealing with a lot of bad apples. You're dealing with a lot of people that are now trying to draw fouls instead of actually playing the game. I don't want a game like the NBA to end up being a free throw contest, because if I wanted to watch a free throw contest, I would just go shoot free throws myself. Everybody wants to watch for the three-pointers. Everybody wants to watch for the dunks. Everybody want to watch for the layups and the great plays. If you're a coach, you look for more of the intricate details. But I do think that we need to start looking at other options, other sections, and other things to really get us going and to really get us really in the right situation. Because, again, I want to see a situation where the Celtics, are in the championship and winning games, and I don't want to see players like Trae Young or James Harden or Joel Embiid basically getting to the championship game by drawing the most fouls that they can and basically going to the free throw line about 50 to 60 times. I mean, that's what we're getting at, and that's kind of scary to me. And maybe not scary, but more so a scary thought. Then we're pretty soon gonna get in a situation where there may be like 40 to 50 free throws a game now, with the way that the fouling's being called. If it continues to go in this way, if Trae Young is continuing to go to the line the way that he is, and basically players are seeing like, well, if Trae Young does it, and I know that everyone hates him, but he still gets his points, still gets his money, why would I not do that? And I think that's kind of the scenario that I'm seeing here from a lot of NBA players, and just basically the perspective of everybody as it pertains to what is going on with the NBA in terms of this. And I think that's the real reason why Donovan Mitchell is upset. I don't think he's actually upset because the 76ers got 35 free throws compared to their 19. I mean, I know that Donovan Mitchell is probably one of the nicest guys in the world. I know that Rudy Gobert doesn't really talk that much. But I do think that they do get shafted in the fact that I think they just need to be a little bit more vocal with them. And unfortunately, that's, I think, the way that you have to go about it, because I think that's the way that you're really going to get people to really pay attention to you and to really kind of give you the day and light and the respect of trying to draw the foul. But at the end of the day, we'll see what happens here. But anyway, guys, that is going to do it here for the charge. Thank you once again for joining me here. I really appreciated each and every one of you for coming into the channel. I know there's 5 of you out here. Appreciate each and every one of you. Please remember to hit the like button. Also remember to hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. The more likes, the more subscribes, the more we are willing to get more people to join the channel, to get us going. And really what I want to do is I want to create a basketball scenario, a situation where everybody can enjoy basketball. Everybody can enjoy watching the charge and basically having our opinions heard. And again, guys, like I said, please remember to hit that like. Also remember to hit the subscribe. And I'll catch you later. Thank you once again for joining me here on The Charge. Peace.